Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the biggest nose, Jay-Z Courtside, coming at y'all today on October 14th. First things first, we got a little bit of a laundry list. You guys saw the title. We're going to be ranking the top 10 point guards from last year and going into this year. So it's not really going to be a projection on who's going to be in the top 10 next season. I'm just basing it purely off of the 2024-2025 regular season as well as the playoffs. And then I'm going to be talking about what they did last year with their averages, awards, and a little bit of going into next season and what we should expect from each player. But first things first, guys, if you do enjoy these podcasts, whether you're listening to on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, whatever link you want will all be down in the description on whatever platform you are watching on. And if you are on YouTube, then you get the little visuals. You get to see what I look like. We're going to be popping up highlights throughout the year. And remember, these will be daily podcasts when the season begins in just a week and a half from today. Preseason's been going on. Maybe I'll do a final overlook on the league. I know some things have happened since the last podcast, which I would like to apologize. I know it's been rather inconsistent on this channel, mainly because I was going through some health issues. I was having some weird chest pains, but we got it all figured out. I think it was just a muscle sprain somewhere in my ribs or my back, but I'm feeling good as new, feeling good, feeling great. Yeah, we're going to start off today with ranking the top 10 point guards, but expect a bunch more podcasts hitting your feed this next week because I'm going to be ranking the top 10 players in each position. So we're starting with point guards. We're going to go to shooting guards next, small forwards, and so on and so forth. Again, y'all, any link you want, my Twitter, Discord server, everything you need will be down below, as well as the main YouTube channel, our documentary style. It's Jay-Z Uncut. That link will be down below. If you guys want, decade recaps or player documentaries or just era documentaries, be sure to sub on to the main channel. All right, guys. Now that we got most of that stuff out of the way, remember, we are going to be doing daily pods live everywhere on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere you can go live. We will be streaming these, I think, 9 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. So daily pods. I hope you guys are excited as I am. Make sure you leave a 5-star review or leave a like if you are on YouTube. Now that we got all that junk out of the way, I don't want to start with my honorable mentions because then it'll sort of spoil part of the top 10. I want you to think like, oh, maybe that player can come next. And mind you, these players are in their true positions. So I'm just going to use James Harden as an example. As we know, he was a shooting guard for the first 8-9 years of his time in the NBA. I think my dog just came in the background. If you're on YouTube, you saw him. But we're going to be staying to their true positions. So whatever they were in the last decade is what I'm ranking them as their positions. So like small forwards, Jaylen Brown will be there. Tatum, unfortunately, will probably be a small forward, power forward. Oh, that's another thing. We are not counting anybody with injuries. So I know you guys are expecting Tyrese Halliburton to be in the top 10. He would be in the top 5 somewhere, but we are not counting anybody injured because we are still looking forward to the next year while counting last year's. He would be top 5 though. I'm just spoiling that off rip. So Tatum's not going to be in his, and so on and so forth. So let's get started. At number 10, this was really hard. This was really, really difficult to decide. It was between a lot of people. But at number 10, bring up the visual, please. We have Tyrese Maxey of the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm going to be saying how many games they played if necessary, as well as their points, assists, rebounds, steals, blocks, and percentages on the court. All right. So Tyrese Maxey, we can talk forever about the Philadelphia 76ers, but I'm not going to do that. Tyrese Maxey only played 52 games last year. He was injured. Embiid was injured. Paul George was injured. Should have been rookie of the year. Jared McCain, he got hurt. He averaged 26 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, and less than half a block, all while shooting a low 33% from 3 and 51% from 2-point shots. I'm about to get off topic just for a quick second. My apologies for the scruffy look. I need a haircut. I got to shave, but I'm normally way more handsome than this if you guys are seeing on YouTube. So, Tyrese Maxey. I meant to mention that in the laundry list, but I got a little sidetracked. I'm just excited to talk about this and actually do these podcasts because that's something I've been really passionate about. So Tyrese Maxey, it was very difficult. Now, I will say it was between Maxey and De'Aaron Fox, who is one of the honorable mentions on this list. De'Aaron Fox did not crack the top 10, but honestly, it could have been a toss-up. Tyrese Maxey, for the time he played last year, he was asked to do a lot, like way too much. I don't think Tyrese Maxey is going to be a number one option on any championship team. And we saw what it looked like. He had a very, very high usage rate last year when he was on the court because there was nobody else. There was nobody else confident enough to shoot. There was nobody else confident enough to be the primary ball handler. He was by himself. Without Embiid, without Paul George, typically the offense, they would use Embiid the way they use Jokic out in Denver, is he's the point center. And Tyrese Maxey was asked to do too much last year, causing his three-point shooting to dip, causing his two-point shooting to dip. But he did average 26 points per game, which is incredible. You could see that and wonder how, like, if he could have been an all-star. It's just the percentages weren't there. The efficiency wasn't there. So Tyrese Maxey cracked number 10 above Fox and a few others that I don't want to spoil immediately. I feel as though last year it's a cheap shot on Tyrese Maxey's career. You can see how good he is, but it was bittersweet because as good as he was, the efficiency lacked. He showed you that he can't be the number one on the court. He needs a primary scorer. Like, Tyrese Maxey should not be any team in the NBA's primary scorer. He's a great facilitator and a shot creator for others. He only averaged 6 assists per game, and that's because they didn't really have any spot-up shooters on this team. I know Yabusele came from, I believe, France. Now he's on the Knicks. I think that's a big loss for the 76ers. And, going into last year, we all expected the 76ers to be great. So when they had all these injuries, it sort of spoiled their entire year. I believe Embiid only played 20-some games, maybe 30 max. Paul George around the same. It was just a lackluster year for the 76ers. And Tyrese Maxey sort of was given the helm and he wasn't ready. I don't think he'll ever be ready for something like that. I think Tyrese Maxey last year proved to us that, yes, he's a dominant player, but he needs primary scorers around him, other people that can hold the ball. It sort of reminded me of Cade Cunningham, who we'll talk about later on, because they both had extremely similar usage percentage rates last season, except one did much better than the other. Not so much as scoring, but it showed what they could do being the number one option, and I don't think Tyrese Maxey could be that. Overall, he got the edge on Fox. I guess now is the right time to talk about Fox since I did mention him. As good as he was, we're going to see him on San Antonio this coming season. He only played a few games with them because of that, I believe, wrist injury. He got surgery on that. De'Aaron Fox could be 10. He very well could be 10. The reason he isn't is because I think what we see with De'Aaron Fox is going to be the full capacity of what De'Aaron Fox is going to be in his career. Tyrese Maxey still has a lot of room to develop. His shot percentage, his shot selection as well. I don't want to dig too deep on Maxey's negative side, but if you watched him, you can watch his highlights. His shot selection is not the best. And again, I don't think it's ever looked at poor, but it's because he didn't really have nobody else wanted to touch the ball on the 76ers. As soon as Jared McCain shown what he could do last season and then got hurt, it was sort of, I feel for 76ers fans, man. Like, y'all cannot get one consistent season, and it's looking like more of the same this coming year. Paul George and Joel Embiid are both not available in training camp. I believe Maxey's good to go at the start. I'm excited to see what he can do this year. I think we're going to see his percentages all skyrocket. Maybe not skyrocket, but he should be shooting between that 35 and 38 percentile from three. Being at 33% is just way too low for what they need out of him. I think, he's going to put on some more weight. I think Tyrese Maxey has a lot of room to improve, and that's why he's at number 10 for me. Okay, well, I think I got everything out of the way for Tyrese Maxey. Let's take his name off the screen and move on to number 9. Now, this one, listen, listen. I have Darius Garland at number 9. I know you guys are thinking. Darius Garland played 70 games. He averaged 20 and a half points, almost 7 assists, 3 rebounds, 1 steal. And he shot 40% from deep, as well as 53% from 2, and he was an all-star. Darius Garland is he's a very confusing player to talk about. We saw what Darius Garland was prior to Donovan Mitchell arriving in Cleveland. And I think last year was a perfect representation of what we should expect from Darius Garland now. Young player, has a very high ceiling. According to a lot of fans. I think mostly Cleveland fans. Now, from a Pistons fan, an unbiased point of view, right? I think Darius Garland is probably as good as we're going to see. I don't think anybody would want to have Darius Garland as a number 1, and that's okay. That's okay. What I will say about the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I think this is a very important, very, very important for any Cavs fans or anybody watching. The offense primarily ran between Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. That's why they both were in the clutch player of the year. I know that award is kind of BS, but that whole clutch player of the year sort of shows you all you need to know. The offense was purely running through Garland and Donovan Mitchell. They were just taking turns in late game situations, and it was working. I think they were one of the best clutch teams in the league, maybe even the best. It was working. So you might be wondering, like, okay, what's the issue with that? Well, I'll tell you right now, we need to see a big jump out of Evan Mobley, and we'll talk about him when we do that episode. But the offense needs to run through Evan Mobley a lot more. A lot more. I think the issue is they didn't know how big of a jump Evan Mobley would do. So during training camp and the regular season, they sort of just went with what worked. They were winning games. Winning games wasn't an issue. They started the season 15-0. They had the best record in the league, I think, unless the Thunder passed them. The Thunder might have passed them. I think they started dropping games near the end of the year because they were gassed and injured and whatnot. Obviously, they lost in the playoffs to Indiana Pacers, but everybody was losing to the Pacers, so I don't blame them. Now, this coming year for Garland, I think we need to see more. Not facilitating. He's a great facilitator. I think we need to see more like swings. You'll see Garland bring the ball up, and he's typically looking to score. But I think they need to get more involved with Evan Mobley. Darius Garland's a great point guard. Now, I think if you were to insert him on any other team, I think we could truly see what Darius Garland could do. His percentages were so high because he was getting open looks. They would double up on Donovan Mitchell. They would double up on Evan Mobley because they both have a great center of gravity. And Garland is the odd man out there. He was the primary scorer at sometimes. You saw what he could do. I saw what he can do. He hit the buzzer beater against the Pistons in the regular season. That ripped our hearts out. Darius Garland, I feel like he could thrive with a Lou Dort, with an Alex Caruso, where he gets the ball in his hands and he gets to dictate what's happening. We know you can score. We know you can pass. We know you can find the open man. But I hate to say this, but let's say Donovan Mitchell were to get sick, not injured, just he catches the flu. I'd love to see a stretch of games, 5, 6, 7 games in the regular season, where Garland is the primary ball handler every time moving down the court, where he's not looking to pass all the time, where he's looking to score. I feel like we might see a different side of Darius Garland at that point. Now, the bad part about this is we saw what he could do prior to Donovan Mitchell, but he was young. He was taking inefficient shots. His facilitating wasn't as good. I feel like Garland's going to come into this is a big year for Darius Garland. I'm very high on him. I think he could crack the top 6, maybe even the top 5 point guards because Tyrese Halliburton's out. It just all depends on whether or not he gains the confidence to actually be him, be himself. And I think with such a great player beside him with Donovan Mitchell, he's not asked to do these sorts of things. They have Evan Mobley, and his usage rate is, I think it's the lowest. It's one of the lowest in the league. I don't think Evan Mobley is in the top 100 players for usage percentage rates. And that shows you that they rely on their guards heavily. So I have Darius Garland at number 9, but I think he is one of the few players on here where their ceiling can't be really determined yet. It's not that it's too soon, it's that he's not asked to do as much as a lot of these other point guards that you're going to see in these lists. So, shouts to Darius Garland. I think his upside is great. I just would love to see him be the guy, the guard, you know? And it's not that Donovan Mitchell is bad defensively, or that he's bad offensively. Donovan Mitchell's, he was an MVP candidate last year, and he's going to be another MVP candidate this year. I want to see more out of Darius Garland. I feel like he kind of took a backseat when Spida entered the team. Now, number 8, and it might be very polarizing. I kept switching between two guys. I kept switching. Let me hit this fan on. It's getting a little steamy in my room. At number 8, I have Ja Morant. Okay. So if you guys are subbed to my main channel, I just did a recap of the first 5 seasons of the 2020s. I like doing these era recaps. And I talked a lot about one player who was electrifying, one player who stood above the rest at being so young. And his name is Ja Morant. He only played 50 games last year. 50. He averaged 23 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 1 steal. Now wait, he shot 31% from three-point land and 52% from normal 2-point field goal range. Ja Morant. Where should we start? Well, you played 50 games last year. And in the games that you did play, your coach wasn't running plays through you. He was running them through Triple J. And I think that was the issue. They fired their coach with, I think, 6 games left in the regular season. And Ja Morant started to look like Ja Morant, the one that we all saw in the first couple of years of his career before all the suspensions and injuries started piling up. Now, I think Ja Morant said it last year that he's not going to be dunking anymore. And then he started doing some insane dunk attempts throughout the year. That's how you can't trust what he says. With this offense running through Ja this coming season, I think things are looking up. The issue is he's hurt again. He's hurt again. I think 4 to 6 weeks. He should be back a couple weeks into the NBA season. If Ja Morant can stay healthy, and I don't like playing that healthy card. I don't like doing that. I don't like saying if and but if Ja Morant can stay healthy, I think this could be the year that matters the most in Ja Morant's career. Think about it. With players that I've named behind him, you can pretty much expect who's coming up next, right? And I have them above him. That's why it's tough. Ja Morant looked like he was going to be one of the best point guards of all time. Athletic, can create his own shot, can find the right guy to pass to. And the thing that he really struggles with is his 3-point conversion. 31% from deep. His weakest part of his moveset, it's not in his arsenal whatsoever. It's his pull-up 3. His dribble pull-up. He is shooting horrible percentages. I think it's 22% on threes that he creates for himself. That is like bottom of the league on minimum 3 attempts per game. That is bottom of the league. This year, with the offense centered around Ja Morant, and I think they still should run Triple J, just like how the Cavs need to run through Evan Mobley, being that point forward. As long as Ja Morant can be the primary ball handler, as long as he can be healthy, Desmond Bane is no longer on the Memphis Grizzlies. They replaced him with KCP. So KCP is not going to be bringing the ball up the court. He's going to be spot-up shooter and defense, which he still brings. Ja Morant's going to have the ball in his hands so long as he can stay on the court. Health might be his biggest issue. Ego might be his biggest issue. And I think the fear of getting injured might be one of his biggest issues as well. John Morant is one of the most fearless players, especially point guards in the league. One of the like of all time, to be honest. Who does what he does? You know, he shows flashes of what Derrick Rose and Russell Westbrook did early in their careers. John Morant's main issues last season was just health, and the offense wasn't centered around him. And yeah, I mean, he got the coach fired. So I think with his new coach inserted, I think we should start seeing a John Morant of the past. As long as he can get on the court, I think out of any player on this list, other than one, he could see the biggest jump. I'm talking top three. Why not? He could be a top 5 guaranteed. It just matters on what he can do going into this next year. You don't have Bane next to you. You don't have that security blanket. You have Ty Jerome, but Ty Jerome likes to be a spot up. If you pass to Ty Jerome, it's a black hole. He's going to shoot the shot. Ty Jerome does not pass. So if John Morant brings the ball up the court, finds the open man, he's obviously going to dictate most of the defense. Ty Jerome's going to love playing next to him as long as they can play next to each other. With Bane gone, Ja, you're the man. You don't have to worry about, am I the number 2? Am I the number 3? You are the number 1. I'm sorry, Triple J fans. John Morant needs to be the number 1 of this team. They just extended Triple J. Can the Grizzlies be a top 8 seed? Can they? I personally think they're going to be a play-in team. So I hope Ja can surprise us all. I don't know, man. The West is tough. They shouldn't be in the West. They should be in the East. But until they get I feel like when we get an expansion team, whether it's Vegas or Seattle first, I feel like they'll move the Grizzlies out east. That's what I believe. Y'all let me know what you think. John Morant, please, I beg you, make me look stupid for rating you 8. Not in a bad way. I hope you don't fall out of the top 10. But I hope we can see John Morant improve next year, health-wise, three-point shooting-wise, and confidence. Now, guys, number 7, we got an old head. I believe the second oldest player on this list. Second or first, we'll see. We have Mr. The Beard, James Harden, at number 7. Again, I mentioned him. Yes, he was a shooting guard, but I think we can all agree James Harden's a point guard. He just is. Now, James Harden, last year, he averaged 23 points per game, almost 9 assists. This guy, 8.7 assists, 6 rebounds, 1.5 steals. He plays the passing lanes great. I know people say that he doesn't play defense. It mainly looks like that because he plays the passing lanes. And 0.7 blocks. Shooting 35% from deep, one of the lowest in years. Older legs. Shooting 47% from 2-point land. He was an all-star. And he was on the all-NBA third team. I can talk forever about James Harden. I'm not going to, but I could. James Harden, last year, he didn't have Kawhi Leonard until, the calendar changed to 2025? James Harden was looking like prime James Harden. Yes, his efficiency wasn't there. Not like old Harden. This guy dropped 50 on the Pistons. I remember like it was yesterday. James Harden, when asked to do a lot, steps up to the plate. The only issue is obviously the playoffs. So I have to take playoffs into account. James Harden last year was used heavily. He had a good team around him, and I think he's got arguably a better team around him next season. He's got Brook Lopez off the bench. He's got John Collins. Imagine the lobs. I think Lob City is back. He's got Chris Paul now to back him up. His former teammate that they should have won back in the day against the Warriors on the Rockets. James Harden is still number 7. And it's quite frankly because, yes, I know he forces trades. I've talked about James Harden a lot on my main channel, Jay-Z Uncut. Make sure y'all go subscribe. James Harden last year, it was sort of like a resurrection year. He showed that even without his star player beside him with Kawhi Leonard, he can still be asked to do a lot and still dictate the floor. Every time James Harden puts up a shot, you expect it to go in. Every time James Harden has the ball in his hands, you expect him to do something beautiful, something amazing. And I think James Harden last year showed that the new guards still have to get past the old guards of the NBA. And with James Harden, this is the year, man. I mean, like, this is the year. Going into the 2025-2026 season, this is the year. Look at the talent they have. I wish they didn't lose Norman Powell, but look at the talent he has around him. James Harden has never been an issue in the regular season. It's always been the playoffs. He was healthy last year. If he can stay health has never been an issue of James Harden, except for the fat Harden era. Health has never been an issue. It's that clutch gene. He just doesn't have it. If James Harden and Kawhi Leonard cannot get it done this year, they're like the oldest team in NBA history, I believe. I don't know where you move on from here. I don't know what you do. James Harden is still number 7 as far as point guards in the NBA. He was all NBA third team. I don't see a world where James Harden falls out of the top 10 for point guards. The day it happens is going to be sad. He's still so strong at creating his own shot, creating shots for others. He still demands so much gravity. You put your best defender on him every night, and he still outperforms the opposing guards. So James Harden is at number 7. I don't need to tell you all about James Harden. You know who he is. At number 6, I know we're moving through this list, but I think you guys can already tell. I'm going to hold off for a quick moment on number 6. I'm going to give y'all a couple more honorable mentions that I have that I think you can already tell have not made the list. I have Tyler Hero. Listen, I don't like having Tyler Hero in the point guard list, but unfortunately for Miami Heat fans, he is your point guard. Tyler Hero had a great year. He was an all-star. Even though he was a late choice, I think he was an injury reserve. He had the best year of his career. He's going to be missing, I think, the first month of this upcoming season. So hopefully the Heat can hold their own until he gets back. I think they haven't won a game in the preseason as of yet. I think they're 0-4. I think. Tyler Hero, he didn't crack the list. But I think if you truly wanted, I think you could have put him in instead of Maxey. Same with De'Aaron Fox. And another point guard that will probably get a lot of hate for me not having him in my top 10 is LaMelo Ball. Listen, the kids love LaMelo Ball. They love him. His I don't care attitude. I'm 27. I think LaMelo has, I don't think he has shown us nearly enough. I mean, he led in fan voting for All-Star weekend and he didn't get in because no player, no coach, no GM thinks that LaMelo deserved to be an All-Star. Injuries are probably his biggest weakness. He can't step onto the court for longer than a 10-game stretch. He hasn't shown that he can be a winner. This year is extremely crucial for the Hornets and LaMelo Ball. He's got good pieces around him. They got like 3 or 4 other point guards on the lineup because they're expecting him to get hurt. I hope LaMelo makes me look stupid. I hope he makes me look stupid. I hope he looks like an undisputed top 10 point guard in the league. I just don't think he's there yet. Maybe he will be. But right now, listen, I've never been one to give up on young players. Prime example, look at Cade Cunningham. And hopefully I can say, look at Scoot Henderson as well. You never want to give, sometimes it just takes a little longer for these players to develop. Sometimes we're thrown into awkward situations. Sometimes injuries keep creeping up. LaMelo Ball's biggest kryptonite right now is staying healthy. He's got those tattoos. He honestly looks like a whole different human being than when he first came into the league. I hope that LaMelo Ball can make a big jump this year and stay healthy. Because I think if healthy, yeah, he's got the swag. He's got the moveset. He's got that I don't care attitude. If he can just stop playing like it's a AAU game, maybe he'll be in the top 10. Let's continue. With number 6, we have Ice Trae Young. I hate Trae Young. He always turns up against the Pistons. Trey averaged 24 points, 11.6 assists, led the league last year, 3 rebounds, 1 steal. But get this. Get this. Remember when everyone was calling Trey the Steph Curry, the next Steph Curry? He shot 34% from deep last year, 47% from 2. But he was an all-star. I'll tell you what, I did not know. I know a lot of ball. I do. I did not know Trey shot so poorly from deep last year on a lot of attempts as well. I believe it was his lowest 3-point shooting season of his career, maybe since his rookie year. And I'll tell you why. Trey was weird last year. I think he averaged 24 points per game. That's no slouch, but I think a lot of people predicted with the roster that he had that he'd be averaging 30. I genuinely believe that he would be averaging 30 last year, and he didn't because he was so focused on playmaking. He didn't look nearly as aggressive on offense like he has in years prior. I think when he lost Jalen Johnson last year, that's when he started he sort of lost the confidence in winning. They've been a play-in team for the last 3 years, I believe. And Trey Young, as good as he is, couldn't carry his team last year. He doesn't play any defense, not a lick of defense. That's why he's at number 6. Among other reasons, we can talk about last season all we want. Injuries were a big portion from last year. Losing Jalen Johnson was very tough. There's no excuses for Trey Young next year. I feel like every offseason we have said the same thing. This is the year of Trey Young. This is the most important year of Trey Young. No. Forget all of that. The 2025-2026 season is the most crucial season of Trey Young's career. And I'll tell you why. Have you seen his roster? They inserted Kristaps Porzingis. They've got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They got Luke Kennard. This team is looking scary. And then obviously they get Jalen Johnson back after injury. Now, I don't want to really see any Trey Young, Luke Kennard lineups. If they are, then they must be down like 30 because they just need points. But that lineup won't have a lick of defense. Luckily, they have Nickeil. They have Kristaps. I know they lost DeAndre Hunter to the Cavs. And then they obviously lost Karis LeVert. The issue with Trey Young is his lack of defense and lack of leadership. I need Trey Young. Well, I don't need it. Hawks fans need it. To be the aggressor again. Remember when he went to the conference finals? Feels like 10 years ago. It's only a couple of years ago, guys. Trey Young is way better than he's leading on to believe. Why is he not in the top 5? 11.5 assists. I think those numbers need to come down. Trey, you have the ball in your hands. Put it in the hoop. There's no way we shot 34% from deep last year. Trey, you are a shooter. You are a closer. If the Atlanta Hawks don't lock in a playoff spot this year, let's say they get into the play-in again. Failed season. Let's say they make the playoffs and lose in the first round. Anybody else think that's a failed season? I know that's a step in the right direction, but we need a leap into the right direction. There's just no way with a roster. This is the best constructed roster around Trey Young he has ever had in his entire career. If it's not this year, it's not next year. I think they need to make it minimum to the second round of the playoffs, which is tough because you got the Magic. They're going to be taking a leap this year. You got the Pistons that should. Not all progress is linear. They took such a big leap last year. They should be taking another leap, even if it's a minuscule one. You got the Heat. You got the Bulls. You got to get away from those teams. You are better than the Chicago Bulls and the Miami Heat. You should be a playoff lock. I don't know whether they can win 40 games or 50. The East is bad. If they win 50, overachieve, make the second round, great jump. But Trey, this is the year. If it doesn't work this year, I think the Hawks need to seriously consider either somehow getting in the Giannis sweepstakes. Sweepstakes? Okay, whatever. Words. Or blow it up, get as much as you can for Trey Young and build around Jalen Johnson. I don't know what more you can do. You got lob threats with Tingus Pingus and Jalen Johnson. You got 3-point shooting surrounded all around you. You got defense all around you. The Atlanta Hawks need to make a decision at the end of this year. Obviously, we'll see what can happen. As long as they get out of the play-in, that is a step into the right direction. It's just about whether or not they can get that leap into the right direction. Now, we're entering the top 5, y'all. Again, this is we're at the 36-minute mark of this pod. So, this is probably going to be the normal length of the daily podcast that get, started when the new season comes. If I were to guess, they'll probably be around 40 minutes to an hour. I'm not really bouncing off anybody. I will be bringing guests. The dream is NBA players. The dream is Cade Cunningham, Jalen Duren. The moment I get a Piston player on the pod, just know I made it. And I hope someone can look back at this and clip it. But yeah, as soon as we get a Pistons player, I made it. Any player for that matter. The top 5 was tough. Main reason it was tough is because I had to put my biases to the side. And I am more so speaking of last year than I am next year. Because if we were doing our projections into next year, this list would be different. If I only centered it around there. But I can't do it all based off of projections. We need to look at the facts. And the fact is, I have the Cade Parker Cunningham at number 5. This hurt. I was making this list and I had him at 3. And I had to put my biases to the side, have a couple of drinks, and decide to put him at number 5. Cade Cunningham averaged 26 points per game in his 4th season. 9 assists per game. 6 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. Shot 35% from deep, 51% from 2. He was 7th in MVP voting. I repeat, 7th in MVP voting. And he was a first-time All-Star and third-team All-NBA. Also led the biggest turnarounds in NBA history, more than tripling their win total in one season. Cade, my sweet prince, what can't I say about you? What an incredible jump last year. Him, Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson, Tobias Harris, and Jalen Duren, all in the starting lineup. Obviously, the Pistons were missing Asar Thompson for the first half of the year due to blood clots. And then as soon as the Pistons started rolling, before the calendar changed to 2025, January 1st, Jaden Ivey went down. Cole Anthony took him out, broke his leg, and the Pistons could have just coasted for the rest of the year. Instead, they made that leap. They continued. They had help with Malik Beasley. Stu off the bench. Obviously, the acquisition of Dennis Schroeder was only because we were missing a secondary ball handler, so he did his thing. I don't even want to talk about Tim Hardaway and Simone Fontecchio. I don't want to talk about them. Good luck for the rest of their careers. We're talking about Cade Cunningham. Now, I'll just say, so far in the preseason, the Pistons have played 2 games. They played against the Grizzlies in Memphis, and then they played against the Bucks in Milwaukee. Cade only played the first half of both games. Not the whole time, but I think he had 18 minutes in game 1 against the Grizzlies, and I think maybe 20 minutes in game 2 against the Bucks. He had his seasonal averages last year. 26 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. In the first half of these games. That's right. In just playing in the first half of each of those games, he was scoring more than 20 points in those halves, shooting like 85% from the field. And this wasn't against their backups. This wasn't against like their bench play. Like they are against Ty Jerome, who was going to be starting. They're against everyone else on the Grizzlies. Same with the Bucks. They had Kevin Porter on him. They honestly, it didn't matter who was on Cade. When I tell you the eye test is a very important thing. Now, the eye test could be very different because I remember watching like Hashim Thabit, who I'm making a video on right now. He's a part of the video on my main channel, guys. Be sure to go sub. The link is in the bio. Hashim Thabit passed the eye test. He was getting blocks. He was getting rebounds. He was getting nice dunks. He had nice footwork. So sometimes the eye test fools you. I'll tell you this much. Cade Cunningham's eye test alone. Ignore the stats. Ignore that amazing alley-oop finish. Be sure to go check that out if you haven't against the Grizzlies in the first preseason game of the year. Caught the ball on one side of the basket and brought it into a reverse lay onto the other side of the basket with his left hand. I can tell you his eye test, he doesn't just look like the best player on the floor. He looks like a top 5 MVP candidate going into this year. Yeah, I'm serious. I think Bill Simmons said that Cade Cunningham is the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the East. And I can see why he said that. You can't speed Shai up. You also can't speed Cade up. He plays at his own pace. And the mid-range game, obviously similar. Shai finishes better at the rim, and I think that's one of Cade's biggest improvements. He needs to improve on finishing at the rim. He had a goal last year to dunk more. Guess what? I think he doubled his dunk total from the season prior. Cade Cunningham's turnovers need to be limited. We saw Cade Cunningham had the most usage percentage damn near in the entire NBA last year. I think it was top 3 in usage data. There was nobody else that was really touching the ball as much as he was. Now, going into this next year, Ausar Thompson has already been shown that he can play the point guard, point forward. So he's going to be bringing the ball up the court a lot. Jaden Ivey is going to be bringing the ball up the court a lot. He looked slow in the first part of the Grizzlies game, and then he picked it up in the second quarter. He looked great, faster than ever, stronger than ever. Cade bulked up as well. He's bigger, faster, smarter, more precise with his movement. It looks like, I think Cade put up a couple floaters, which is he shoots like some of the highest percentages in floaters in the league, and yet he barely took them. Obviously, Cade's post work is incredible for a 6'6" guard. I can talk forever about Cade Cunningham. And I think going into this season, if I'm just looking at next season, simply, he's top 3 guaranteed. Top 3 guaranteed. Now in the playoffs, Cade got his first playoff experience. Excuse me, need some water. He went up against the 2 best perimeter defenders in the NBA. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. And he did his thing. They did not let him rest. He was hounded all game. And he did his thing for his first ever playoff experience. You know, if the Pistons had Isaiah Stewart, if a couple fouls were called the Pistons' way instead of Jalen Brunson's way, that series could have looked very, very different. He got his first playoff experience, and I think that's all he needed. I think the Pistons know what they need to do. The Pistons took such a big leap last year that I'm not expecting them to jump to 50 wins. If they did get 50, it would surprise me. I'm not going to lie. It would surprise me. I think their line is set at like 46.5. They won 44 last year. I think that's more than reasonable. If you pick the under, I wouldn't blame you because they jumped up to 44 from 14 the year prior. But I think they're right around that range. I think they nailed that. Of course, the casinos nailed that line perfectly, but I think he's right in between that 40. I think they're right in between the 45 and 50 wins. And it all depends on Cade Cunningham. Hopefully he'll be asked to do less. I know JB Bickerstaff has been like asked, like this, you know, with Jaden Ivey back and Ausar Thompson being asked to bring the ball up the court, how are we going to see Cade's usage? And he said, don't worry, Cade is still the man, which is all I needed to hear. Because I think the Pistons were down 21 points in the second quarter against the Memphis Grizzlies in the first preseason game. Cade comes in. I think it was I think the Pistons scored 50 points in the second quarter. And I think Cade had like 20 of them. So when I tell you there's one player I'm not worried about on this list going into the next year, I think it's Cade. Now, I put some emphasis on the 7th in MVP voting and him being third team All NBA because those are two things I want you to remember when I talk about the next two players on this list. Okay? So, Cade Cunningham, number 5 right now, as much as it hurts, I have to look at the playoffs. I have to look at experience. I have to look at everything. Cade did not shoot well in the playoffs. I think he shot in the 20s for the percent. I think there was a couple games where he shot like 1 for 7 or 1 from 8 from deep. He couldn't hit the shots that he was hitting in the regular season. I think it's tired legs. The playoffs are it's just excruciating compared to the regular season. I think that's all he needed. I think that one playoff series is he's going to think of that all year long. He said it. They accomplished nothing last year. They accomplished a lot, but at the end of the day, they lost in the first round of the playoffs, and they're going to stay hungry. I think Cade is only going to improve. His ceiling is MVP. Obviously, he's my dark horse pick for next year winning MVP. He's definitely an MVP candidate. But if you guys really want to bet against the lines, he's a dark horse MVP. And I think Cade Cunningham will be an MVP at some point in this league. I think he will. Let's move on. I don't want to talk about the Pistons too long. All right, let's move on. At number 4, I have Jalen Brunson. This is the one that hurt me the most to put ahead of Cade. But let's go through his stats. Jalen Brunson averaged 26 points per game, less than 7.5 assists, 3 rebounds, 1 steal, shot 38% from deep, and 54% from 2. He was an all-star. He won Clutch Player of the Year because we all hold that award so high up on the pedestal. And he was also second team All-NBA. Brunson was obviously Tom Thibodeau's favorite guy on the team. You knew he ran them to the ground all year long. And Brunson, the offense was him. He dribbled the clock out down to 4 seconds. And he takes the shot. And guess what? He was hitting them. Especially late game. Jalen Brunson's playoffs primarily is why he's so high on this list. Obviously, he's little. He doesn't play defense. But could you imagine being like a 6'1" guard, stocky, and doing what he does? Prolific in the post for a point guard. Great. His shot creation is undeniable. I think arguably, if you put shot creation up here, he's top 3. I don't know. Jalen Brunson's incredible. As much as I hate his foul baiting, he's an incredible player. What he did in the playoffs is just spectacular as well. I think with the Knicks going into this year, they're going to be putting a much bigger focus on Karl Anthony Towns because they didn't use him. They did not use Cat all year long. And part of the reason is because they acquired him, I think, after training camp. So they didn't really get to practice a whole lot. Tom Thibodeau played who he believed in. And he didn't really believe in Cat all that much. I think Cat is a 4. He's not a 5. So I think having Yabusele there with their acquisition and Mitchell Robinson hopefully healthy at the beginning of the year, I think having Cat at the 4 is going to open up the court so much more for Brunson. I think Jalen Brunson, we're going to see a dip in his numbers this year. I think he's probably going to average around 22 to 24 points per game. And I think it's because they're going to try getting Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns involved more. They weren't really running the offense through those two at all. And we saw how good offensively Mikal Bridges was until he changed his jump shot. But he started picking it up later as the year went on. I think OG Anunoby touches the ball enough, but this corner 3 is just chef's kiss. I think one of the best in the league. And then with Cat as well, I think Mike Brown, the new head coach for them, I think he's going to speed this team up. It's not going to be Jalen Brunson pounding the hell out of the ball for 20 seconds. I think they're going to be moving the ball around a lot. And I think Jalen Brunson's numbers will dip a little bit because of that. But that'll be perfect going into the playoffs because, yes, he got tired and team was getting hurt. I think that would bode well for the Knicks. I think they should be number 1, number 2 seed in the East. I don't think anything's stopping them. I think Jalen Brunson is just an amazing player all around, other than defense, but he's got enough defense around him. They've got plenty of defense around him. I think this team is constructed perfectly. Now, we could see something happening if for whatever reason they are underperforming, and let's say the Bucks are underperforming as well, which I mean they don't have any expectations. There have been a lot of rumors from Shams, and they've been saying that Giannis wants to go to New York if it just doesn't work in Milwaukee. And a package like that would have to include like a Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges so that they can afford Giannis. Now, a lot of other teams have better trade propositions than the Knicks, but if the Bucks want to stay a competitive team, then obviously that would be the trade that they'd want to do. And you'd be thanking Giannis and sending him to a team that he actually wants to be a part of. But I don't want to talk too many hypotheticals. Jalen Brunson going into this year, why not the Knicks? I think basketball is good when two teams are good. The Pistons, because I'm a Pistons fan, and the New York Knicks. I think this could be a special year for the New York Knicks as well as Jalen Brunson. Now, does he deserve second or all team? Does he deserve second? What's the term? Second team? Just all NBA second team. Arguable. He's not top 7 in MVP voting like Cade Cunningham, but yeah, here he is in the second All NBA. Now, I have another player, top 3. Lock in, guys. Top 3. You already know who the rest of the 3. I mean, you know who they are. I don't want to talk too deep into them because we know everything. There's only one player on here that I think needs to be talked about a bit, like a lot. We have another second All-NBA player, and his name is Stephen Curry. He averaged 24.5 points, 6 assists, 4.5 rebounds, 1 steal, half a block, shooting 40% from 3, as usual, 53% from 2. Steph Curry was an all-star and second team All-NBA. Steph, I could talk forever about you, my man, but I'm not going to. We all are familiar with your game. I think Steph Curry last year was a really dysfunctional year. They started off hot, got cold, got hot again, got cold. Traded for Jimmy Butler, got scorching hot. I think they won like 11 out of their last 12 games. I think they had a crazy run like that. They upset, I'm putting air quotes up if you're watching on YouTube. They upset the number 2 seed Houston Rockets. And unfortunately, Curry got hurt, and that was their season. Now, this is a very important year for the Golden State Warriors. Very important. Obviously, their dynasties are set in stone, but can Curry be an undisputed top 10 player of all time? I'm not talking argumentative. I'm talking, can Curry become a top 10 all-time player? Not point guard, player. This year, I don't see it happening in any other season. Now, unfortunately for the Warriors, their roster is just not great. They did nothing this offseason. They added Al Horford, which I think is a great pickup, but he's old. I think Jimmy Butler was their offseason acquisition, even though he was traded for mid-year. So Curry's got the pieces around him. Not great backup pieces, but he's got pieces around him. I think the Golden State Warriors, if they can just get out of the play-in, you got Jimmy Butler for this reason. Get a top 6 seed, and I think Curry could show us. Doesn't matter how old I am. I'm still him. Now, if I was making this list purely projecting, I'm putting Cade above Brunson and Curry. Sure, there might be a little biases there, but let's go through all of these stats. Cade averaged more points than Curry and Brunson. Cade averaged more assists than Curry and Brunson. Cade averaged more rebounds than Curry and Brunson. Cade averaged the same steals. Cade averaged more blocks. Cade was 7th in MVP voting, and he was an all-star, and he was 3rd team All-NBA. I think a lot of people will tell you that Cade should have been 2nd team. I'm not saying that Cade is a better player all time than Steph Curry or Jalen Brunson, but as far as 3rd team All-NBA, everything I just said, everything I just named, Cade should have been 2nd team. And if I was doing purely projections, I think Cade should have a better year individually than Brunson and Curry. But since we're talking last year with a slight bit of projections for next year, yes, Curry's number 3. And that's because the top two is, I mean, it's pretty undisputed. This could be a huge year for the Warriors. This could be another big year for 37-year-old Steph Curry. He got his brother out there with him now, too. I think the Warriors are going to be a very exciting team to watch. Hopefully, Jimmy Butler can lock in for one last real strong playoff run, because the last playoffs, they got him for the playoffs. He did his thing, but he didn't do much. And that's because he had all the attention on him. Nobody was guarding anybody else. They didn't have to. When they had Steph, Jimmy was allowed to do what he does. Let's move on to number 2. And if we were talking purely projections, this would change. This player only played 50 games. He averaged 28 points, 7.5 assists, 8 rebounds, 1.5 steals, half a block, 38% from deep, and 49% from 2. His name is none other than Luka Doncic. If there's any player on this list, if you want to put any amount of money, obviously I'm not promoting gambling, but I think Luka, for the first time ever in his career, received no MVP votes last year since his rookie year. Luka could win most valuable player next year. I feel like I say it every year. Luka is going to be MVP. Luka's going to be MVP. Luka's going to be MVP. Well, guess what? His first full season in Los Angeles next to a 41-year-old LeBron James who's close to being his best shape of his. I mean, he sees a 41-year-old on his team in the shape that he is, and Luka's got skinny. He's in the best shape of his career right now. Luka Doncic is in the best shape of his entire career right now. Why can't Luka average 30 points per game? Why can't Luka win 50 games this year? It's rare when Luka's teams win more than 50 games. And I know the team isn't great around them. But if this guy Luka, if they somehow win, let's say 55 games, and they're a top 3 seed, I think Luka's going to win MVP. Now, if I were to bet, I'd say it's going to be Jokic. I feel like that's how Jokic's career has been. He wins MVP. Next year, they give it to Joel Embiid. He wins MVP. Or I think he won back-to-back. No. I'm wrong. Jokic won MVP. They gave it to Giannis the next year. He won MVP again. They gave it to Embiid. They gave him MVP again. They gave it to Shea. So the pattern has shown that it's probably going to be Jokic. But if you want a true dark horse, like, it's not going to bring as much money as a Cade one. But if you want a true dark horse, I think Luka has not just a chip on his shoulder. I think he's got the whole bag of chips on his shoulder. I think Luka Doncic could be absolutely prolific this year. His team around him isn't that great. He's got DeAndre Ayton. Can he transform Ayton into that, not just a pick and pop guy, but a driver? He needs a driving big. They got Jackson Hayes on the bench, which that's a good role for him. They got the second season of JJ Redick being their head coach. Why not Luka? I wouldn't mind looking back at this a year from now and saying, yeah, I called it. Luka should have been number 1 here on this list. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about Luka. We know who he is. We know what he can do. Best shot creation out of any point guard in the league. Strong. Best shape of his career. We're in for a very, very fun season for Luka Magic. And at number 1, we all know Rodney Stuckey. We got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Man that needs no introduction. 33 points per game, 6.5 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block. Only shot 37% from deep. That's the one weak spot in his game. That's not even weak. 37% is still incredible. 57% from 2, which is just absolutely efficient. Most efficient 2-point shot percentage on this entire list. He was an all-star. He was the MVP. He was finals MVP. He was first team All-NBA, and he won the NBA championship. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't think he's going to win back-to-back MVPs. I don't think the media wants to give it to him. I think they want to give it to Jokic. The only issue is Every now and then you have a player who wins 4 MVPs. Obviously, the last player to win 4 MVPs was LeBron, but like that's the stature of player you need to be. It's up to them whether or not they want to put Jokic in that conversation of 4-time MVP winners. I don't think Shea's going to win MVP, but I think he's going to have a great year. He had a great year. He had arguably one of the best years you could have, winning all those awards, as well as the championship at the end of the year. Shea is as good as it gets. Shea's as good as it gets. Efficient. Unbelievable scoring ability. Shot creation is just impeccable, especially from the mid-range. And obviously his playmaking is just what they need. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, was the best point guard in the NBA last year. And I think he very well could be underrated. Right? Look at what I just said. I talked about Cade. I talked about Trey. I talked about Morant, Brunson, Curry, Luka. All of these players, and I feel like we're all underrating Shea. Yes, I know he's a foul merchant. Okay, that's fine. But I feel like going into this year, the Thunder are still the youngest team in the NBA, and they're coming off of a championship. I feel like, I hate to say it, but Shea is looking underrated going into the 2025-2026 season. And I think that's why he deserves that one spot now more than ever. Shea is an incredible player. We saw the turnaround that the Thunder had. One of the fastest rebuilds of all time. And arguably, I know I said it about the Boston Celtics last year. We've had 7 different champions in the last 7 years. And I said last year that the Celtics are going to win back-to-back. Injuries, team fell apart, cohesion. This time, who is going to beat this team? If healthy. Even if they're not healthy. They lost Chet for the majority of last year. They didn't have Hartenstein for a big portion of the year. Who's beating this team? Hey, I'd love to eat my words. And, we're going to be talking about the Thunder a lot during the daily podcast, so there's not much to dwell on Shea. I think right now he's underrated. I think there's just so much talk around other players that Shea's sort of getting lost in the fold when he had one of the best seasons of all time. Point blank period. Guys, that's going to do it. That is our top 10. I'm just going to do a quick recap. Honorable mentions: LaMelo Ball, De'Aaron Fox, Tyler Hero. At number 10, Tyrese Maxey. At number 9, Darius Garland. At number 8, Ja Morant. Number 7, James Harden. Number 6, Trae Young. Number 5, Cade Cunningham. Number 4, Jalen Brunson. 3, Steph Curry. 2, Luka Doncic. And at number 1, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. If you guys disagree with any of it, please let me know in the comment section down below. Be sure to be on the lookout because I'm going to start filling your subscription feed these next few days with top 10 shooting guards, top 10 small forwards, power forwards, and centers. And then we're going to do a quick last recap of the preseason and what to look forward to, early predictions going into the next year. If you guys have any suggestions on topics that you guys want to see during the season and before, let me know. We still have over a week until, actually, I think we have just a week now. So expect these podcasts to smack your feed. And of course, again, leave a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave a like on YouTube. Subscribe if you're new, of course. Hit that bell for the post notifications. Check out our main YouTube channel, Jay-Z Uncut, our Discord server, our Twitter, and the Spotify, Apple, YouTube link all down below. If you guys enjoyed, please let me know in the comment section down below. And that's all I got for y'all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.